Let's talk about a 1974 Charles Bronson film. Let's do it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about 1974's Death Wish, starring Charles Bronson. I mean, he's been known for this whole series. They made 5 films out of this freaking series. Now, this film, Michael Winner directed this film, and him and Charles Bronson used to work together a lot. They worked together on The Mechanic. They worked together on Death Wish 1, 2, and 3. They just come off a movie called The Stone Killer, and Charles Bronson asked Michael Winner, they wanted to work together again, what do you got coming up? And he goes, well, the best script I got is Death Wish. Now, Death Wish had been around for a little bit. It's actually an adaptation of a novel named Death Wish by Brian Garfield. And so the story goes, from Michael Winner's point of view, the man has since passed away, and Charles Bronson has passed away years ago. Said that when Charles Bronson asked him what's it about, he goes, well, it's about a guy whose wife and his daughter get brutally beaten and raped by these gang members, and he goes out and starts shooting muggers. And Charles Bronson goes, I'd like to do that. And he goes, what, shoot the film? He goes, no, shoot muggers. That's kind of a funny story. So they decided to do it. Now, Charles Bronson was not the first actor that was wanted by the studio for this film. They saw Steve McQueen doing it, Gregory Peck. They even went to Clint Eastwood. They actually offered Clint Eastwood the role coming off of Dirty Harry, and Clint Eastwood actually turned him down and said that he didn't think he was right for the part. Matter of fact, at first, Charles Bronson didn't think he was right for the part, because the part was written for like a really meek, not a very tough-looking guy, just a regular-looking dude, and Charles Bronson doesn't look like a regular dude. Charles Bronson's always been known to play tough guys. He served in the military. Charles Bronson was known as being a very tough guy. So it was kind of hard to see him playing this down, just normal-looking guy who isn't like very confrontational. But I think Charles Bronson pulls it off. Charles Bronson didn't get enough credit for how good of an actor he really was. I'm not saying he's as good as Tom Hanks or some other actors, but Charles Bronson was a decent actor. Now, this film had a $3 million budget. It was released in July 24th of 1974, which is funny. Charles Bronson had a movie come out the Friday before this came out, Mr. Majestic, which if you've never seen that, it's a pretty good Charles Bronson film. So he had 2 movies out with a matter of a week of each other. The movie's an hour and 33 minutes long. It's rated R. It was very controversial at the time because of vigilanteism. People thought it glorified it. I don't see it that way, neither did Charles Bronson, but whatever. It had a $3 million budget. Upon release that summer, it made 22, so it was a hit. Dino De Laurentiis produced this film. It's the only one he produced. After the success of this film, he sold the rights to Cannon for $200,000. So Cannon produced the rest of the films. There's 5 of them in total. And Charles Bronson's in all of them. And I did a remake a few years ago, Bruce Willis, which I have seen. Now, Brian Garfield, the guy who wrote the original novel, was dissatisfied with this film. He thought it glorified vigilanteism. I don't see it that way, but he did. So he wrote a sequel novel called Death Sentence, which got its own film in 2007 starring Kevin Bacon, directed by the great James Wan. And I like that film. It's pretty good. So if you've never seen that one, check that out. It's definitely one of James Wan's films that don't get talked about a lot, but I really like that film. Actually, I was lucky enough to see it in the theaters when it came out that summer, or that year. But anyway, let's get back to the Death Wish here. Now, Charles Bronson plays Paul Kersey, our main character. His wife is played by Hope Lang. Hope Lang was a TV actress. She was kind of pigeonholed as an all-American girl, and she plays his wife in this film. And we got Jeff Goldblum in his first film appearance as one of these punk gang members. And he is a pivotal role in this film, even though he's only in it for maybe 5 minutes. But him and the 2 guys that are with him are the catalyst of what happens the rest of this film. Being in this film, we see Paul Kersey and his wife on a beach in Maui, and he's taking pictures of his wife, and they're just loving on each other because they've been married. They're still in love. It's a nice scene that sets up these characters before they go back to New York City. And this is New York City in the 70s, which if you ask some people or read a little bit about the 70s in New York, it wasn't a very pleasant place to live. Paul Kersey works for this development group. He plans communities. He's like an engineer for this business in New York City, and they're planning they talk about how they're planning this new development out in Tucson, Arizona. We'll get to that in a second because that comes up in the film, and that's a big catalyst to where Paul Kersey's character goes as well. And right in the beginning of the film, he goes off to work, and his daughter and his wife go to the grocery store. And we already see the problems in New York. We see these 3 punks, Jeff Goldblum's one of them, going around the store, throwing stuff on the ground, acting like jackasses. and harassing customers. And they set their eyes on Paul Kersey's wife and his daughter. And after the groceries are paid for, they put them in a box and they ask them to deliver it. And they put their address slip in this box so the delivery guy can get to it. And these punks check, see where they live. And they basically follow them home. Now, what happens here is a pretty brutal scene. They break in, they knock on the door and they think it's the grocery delivery guy. They come in and they basically rape the daughter and beat the shit out of the wife to the point where she ends up dying. And the daughter is basically catatonic. Like, she's lost it. And when Paul Kersey, they go to the hospital with his son-in-law, and the wife passed. He finds out his wife passed away. We cut to the funeral. It's in dead of winter. It's snowing, very cold, very bleak looking, and Paul Kersey's definitely affected by this. Now, Charles Bronson's people think of Charles Bronson as a tough guy. He served in the military in real life. He always played tough guy actors. So Paul Kersey in this film, when you see Charles Bronson, you know he could do whatever he wants. He was an action star. No matter what you think of Charles Bronson, he was an action star in the 70s and 80s. So, but he does play it down. Like, he's just, like, he even says, like, bleeding heart liberal, and he cares about people down on their luck, and because he's a guy at work that keeps talking about the crime statistics, and they're going to need more cops and all this stuff. And Paul Kersey feels bad for these people until this happens. Now, you see a man in despair. They really do show, and even though when a movie's only an hour and 33 minutes long, they really do show him going through the grieving process. And eventually one night, he goes to the bank in the morning and buys $20 worth of quarters, exchanges his $20 for $20 worth of quarters, and he puts it in his sock. And he goes out, and a guy tries to mug him, and he hits him with the quarters, and the guy takes off. And Paul Kersey goes home because he's upset. And you can tell this is a man on the edge. He's on the edge of losing himself, or he can go the other way. And then all of a sudden, his boss offers him to go to Tucson to help plan this community. They're having problems with the developer because he doesn't want to develop as many houses as they want to. So Paul Kersey goes to Tucson and meets this guy. In Arizona, gun culture is huge. I lived out there for 2 years. Even now, in today's standards, a lot of people who grew up in Arizona have a lot of guns. Everybody has one. I'm not saying everybody lives in Arizona has a gun, but a lot of the people that were original from there who lived there their whole lives have a gun. My boss had a gun. He carried on him at all times. It was just a normal thing. You go to the mall, there's people open carrying all the time. I saw it all the time, which don't bother me. But so this guy's showing him, like, takes him to the old Tucson Studios, which I have been to, and they've shot a lot of Westerns there over the years. I recognize different buildings out of it, especially in Tombstone. There's a section in Tombstone they shot there in the beginning with the cowboys, and I saw that church when I was there. And they see this recreation of a gunfight. And he takes him to a gun range one night and tells him about, out here, everybody walks around with a gun, and if a mugger tries to mug you, he's going to get his ass blown off. And you live in that toilet where you can't even own a gun. And so they get in a little bit of the politics of it, but when Paul Kersey leaves, they become friends. He gives him a gun as a gift. Paul Kersey doesn't know that till he gets home. This is when you can take a gun through the airport. Nobody's going to lose their shit over it. And that starts the catalyst of him deciding to take revenge. The first night, he loads the gun, goes out, and he shoots some muggers, and he keeps doing it. And the cops are looking for him. There's this inspector looking for him, but the crime rate's going down. Muggings drop by almost 50%. People are starting to take it upon themselves to fight back. They even show interviews like this little lady fighting off muggers that try to get her purse. So he is having an effect on the culture around New York City. People are fighting back. They're sick of it. But you can all see Paul Kersey is also not... He doesn't go insane, but he's close. And his daughter's still catatonic. And at the end of the film, the cops are closing in. They're pressuring him. They think it's him, but they can't prove it. At the end of the film, he gets shot while he kills two muggers. One gets away, and the cops have him in the hospital. But they don't want to arrest him because they don't want to make a martyr out of him. So what they do is they tell him he better leave town. He better not pull this shit ever again. And at the end of the film, we see him transferring to Chicago. But these guys kind of rough up this girl a little bit, and he goes over and helps her. He just gets off the train, and he goes like this to the guys, and that's the end of the film. And it's a fantastic ending. I don't believe this film glorifies vigilantism. The later films definitely did. I would say 2 doesn't yet. It's getting there. And then 3 on, they're definitely glorifying it. He's just there to shoot a bunch of shitty people, and that's pretty much the film. This film has more to it, and I think the sequel has more to it, although the sequel gets even a little bit more darker and grittier, although this film's pretty dark and gritty as well. I like Charles Bronson's performance in this film. I think all the actors do well. I think it's well shot. I think the gun... It's not an action film, the first film. It gets more action-oriented as they go down the series. This one's more of a drama with action elements, revenge elements in it. The action scenes are brief, they're dirty, they're messy, which it would be in real life. And I never felt like it's glorified in this film. I never did when I was a kid. And actually, you're on Paul Kersey's side for what he lost. He lost pretty much everything. His wife's gone, whom he absolutely loved. And his daughter is basically a walking zombie who doesn't even know what's going on. Like, she's in a sanitarium by the end of the film. So you're on his side. You feel sympathy for this character. And Charles Bronson makes that happen with his performance. I really like Death Wish. I think it's a really good film. I would give Death Wish a 9.5 out of 10. I think it's a very underrated film from the 70s. I know a lot of people like this film. I don't think it gets enough credit. I think it's a really well done film. 9.5 out of 10 for the original Death Wish. What's your thoughts on this film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly appreciate it. You all stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll be back soon with another review. Thanks. Bye.